Yo, it's time again for the well, it's been a while. Second ever Lost in Thought. I do where I talk about things related to the show, the TV show Lost. One of my favorite TV shows, and more specifically, questions that kind of weren't answered in the show were kind of left out to interpretation. Today I'm gonna take a look at a more easy one to answer. I feel like because there's two answers to this question. I feel like, but they're both pretty easy to hit out the park. Home run style out. Before I start, if you're not into Lost, that's fine. That's cool. Don't watch this video. Perfectly cool. And also, if you haven't watched all of Lost up to season 5, then I wish at least to the season 5 episode, whatever happened happens. No, whatever happened happens. Sorry. Then just don't watch this video. Save it for later or something if you want to check it out. So briefly recap the events that were happening around this time in Lost. So Saeed went back in 1977. He shot a kid. Some crazy shit. Now he shot this kid not because he's a child murderer or any other reason. He basically did it for the whole baby Hitler analogy of killing somebody evil. In this case, Ben Linus. And I think he did it mainly because he didn't want him to manipulate him later on. Not necessarily to keep him from going to the island, although that was probably part of the plan. But anyway, so he's trying to... He's trying to keep everybody, trying to set the whole time back. And then make it where they never go. Like the whole Terminator thing, Kind of like kill Sarah Connor, and then there's no John Connor, yada, yada, yada. In the middle of this episode, there's a scene that's pretty pivotal. Like, it's not a scene that's important as much, but it just kind of, I think, encapsulates some ideas at the time. And it was a scene between Miles and Hurley. And this scene happens in, I think it was Jack's house. Anyway, the scene is about Hurley continuing to ask questions of Miles about how the timeline works, because they're there in the past, and basically, eventually it builds up to... It also want to put on, I think Miles is supposed to be Hurley's supposed to be kind of the audience in the scenario. Miles is supposed to be the show's creators. But anyway... Hurley asked, okay, if all this stuff happened before, how come Ben doesn't recognize Saeed was the guy that shot him when he was a kid? Sorry about the belch. As a kid, whenever Saeed tortured him. And Miles goes, I don't know. I will answer that question now. It's actually pretty simple. There's really one of two answers. We'll start with, the first answer is actually what happens later in the episode. Which is, Ben gets taken to the others who take him to I forget what the name of the place is, but it's a place with hills. And they are told before they put him in there by Richard. I should point out, Ben is taken by Sawyer, Kate, and Juliet. A weird team if there ever was one. He says that if they take him to this place when he's healed, he will never be the same. He will be changed. His innocence will be gone. That's his exact quote. Now, considering the Ben we see, even at this point, Ben was kind of already a troubled kid whose father was emotionally abusive and physically abusive. At least in one scene hints at that. And his mother died in childbirth, so he never knew his mother. And he also, I don't think he gets along too well with the Dharma people, other than one girl, other than Horace Godspeed, who is a friend of his dad's. And he seemed to treat him better than his own dad treats him, and also a girl he liked growing up, who we don't really find out what happened to. But anyway, so he kind of was already a little twisted, and he was trying to make a deal with Saeed, like talking about going to the others because he believed Saeed was one of the others, yada yada yada. Anyway, you could take this as from this moment on, his innocence was gone. The thing that healed him is what made him become. But more importantly than that, because it shows that's true, that's canon, Which I don't necessarily like. I mean, I still think he had some choices there. Maybe it made him a little more cold, more manipulative. But I don't think it was like he had no choice whatsoever. I want to point that out. Like, he still had some choice. He still could have chose to do right and wrong. No, I believe that. But I believe what you could say there is that when this treatment happened, when he was laying in this tent and whatever that was healing him, maybe his memory, at least part of his memory, like the last day or two, was wiped clean. The slate was wiped clean, so he wouldn't have remembered Saeed shooting him. He wouldn't even remember why he was there. He might have just been told by Richard, "Oh, you were hurt." He might have told him, "Oh, something happened. There was an accident in Dharma, and we had to rescue you, and this is the only way to bring you." And he would trust Richard and believe that. He would have no reason not to believe that. And this seems like a pretty good theory to come up with, and because if you think about it, when he got back the list of names of people who were at the camp, and he saw Saeed Jarrah, he probably would have thought, if he knew about it, like, oh, this guy Saeed shot me, he would maybe try to let him get captured or something done to him, or maybe he would have wanted to know more about Saeed, why he did that. But I don't like this theory, because it basically is kind of a lazy cop-out, like, oh, he forgot because of the treatment. So I go with theory 2, and that's pretty much just a simple theory of, he basically did remember, always, he did remember, so he didn't forget. He knew, but he had no real reason to ever bring this up. Now, Ben, in Season 2, Ben is a very different character. And part of that's due to the writing. We know it kind of changed over time. He wasn't planned to be the big other leader. But also, he's more shrewd, more manipulative. He's always very manipulative, but he's more shrewd. He's less as sinister as you might see. Like, he's more of a guy who is going to be kind of planning things. Like, he tells things to people. Like, we don't know. At least I never know for sure when he said that he was there to get Locke. Pick up Locke. He was there. He went to the camp to get Locke. That doesn't seem like anything true. And even the fact he got caught in Russo's nets just because he was walking around near the camp seems a little, near the Losts, play the 8-15ers little area. Seems a little sus. I don't know if he planned that on purpose. I don't think he would. But for all intents and purposes, let's just say, once he got captured, for one thing also, I do believe that he remembered Saeed because even though at first he acts like he's really cool with Saeed and he acts like a normal guy and talking to Saeed, telling him about the situation, his wife died, he got stuck on that island, and he was rich, all this stuff. So he kind of, as soon as Saeed starts attacking him, he would have extra motivation to make his fear more convincing, to make Jack and Locke believe, that Saeed is in the wrong. Saeed is just completely mistaken about this. He's just torturing him. He's lost his mind. He's crazy with guilt, It helps sell the performance. So he, when he's saying it's like, oh, he just starts hitting me and stuff like that, it's more believable. That's why, I don't, looking back at the episode, I don't necessarily see that it feels like he's trying to put a little extra, but it could just be, he has that believability. And that's why, the one reason I think. The other reason is that what would he gain from trying to talk, let's think about this for a minute. Saeed, at this point, is convinced that Ben is another, which he is. He's one of them. And he hates the others. He, of course, for good reasons, but also the fact that Shannon died, partially because of the others. In a roundabout way, but So, if you're Ben and you're going to tell this guy, hey, I remember something. You shot me back in 1977 when I was a kid. You tried to kill me. What exactly, how would that help you? If anything, that's going to make Saeed ask more questions about how was I in 1977? Why did I shoot you? And basically, so there's time travel now. What's going on around here, basically? And Ben might know some of these answers, but he don't want to tell them, especially not at this point. So why would he even bother even saying this? The only reason I could think he would say it was just, if he was trying to tell us, the audience, to make a little clue breadcrumb for later on. But no, that would be just dumb. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, in my opinion. I think Saeed would probably just beat him even more. The only other reason he could is to make Saeed seem more crazy. So if Saeed started telling Jack and Locke, oh, he's talking about I shot him in 1977, that's why he's afraid of me. He's talking about time travel now, and they'd be like, oh, well, what are you talking about, Saeed? And then he could say, like, I didn't say that. That's Saeed's tripping, That might have worked, but I don't think that was what they were going for. I don't think that would be a plan of Ben at this point. I think the most obvious answer here is that he does remember. He just has no reason. No reason at all to tell anybody that Saeed is the one who shot him. Because even to the people that he's kind of like, to Echo, if he tells Echo, even if Echo believes him, what's that going to do? Like, Echo was kind of cool with Ben. He asked for forgiveness and all that. But either way, like, he tells Jack, what's Jack going to do? Just think he's crazy. Jack doesn't even believe Hurley about the numbers at that point. There's no way he's going to believe some story about Saeed shooting a kid 30 years before this. See what I'm saying? Like, this is just insanity. There's no reason. So that's my official take on this. The answer to Miles' question is you could choose for yourself. Personally, I think it's number 2. It's either the healing he got from the others made him completely forget that they possibly even a week, up to a point. Or Ben just had no reason to tell anybody ever that, yeah, Saeed shot him. That's my exact answer to that. And if I believe it answers the whole loophole question of the theory, the idea. And I feel like it's a pretty simple answer to come across. And I mean, maybe there might be a third theory out there, like maybe Ben hurt his head another way and he forgot. I don't know. Maybe, but that's my two theories, and I prefer number two. I think it makes the most sense, and it fits well. With Ben being a manipulator, he has no reason. If he doesn't have something to gain, he doesn't want to share any information. Because remember, he lied about the thing about his people having a trap for Saeed and Saeed. I know Lucia and Charlie. I was trying to remember the free. It was free. He lied about that basically to manipulate Jack and Locke. We're going to manipulate everybody. So he's the guy he's going to manipulate. So of course, if this could be used to his advantage, he would, but he had no advantage from it. So that's my answer. And take either of those two, I think. And they're the perfect answer. So anyway, other than that, thanks for watching again. Sorry it took a while to make another video. I kind of forgot about it. I was kind of thinking about what I want to do. And I don't know what the next Lawson Fraud I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to do another one. I just don't know what it's going to be about. I'm trying to touch on subjects people don't talk as much about. And I feel I did a pretty good job on that here especially. So, see what I come with. But anyway, might watch a couple episodes too again soon just kind of for inspiration. But anyway, thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, namaste.